Welcome back to Mana Central. I'm Kenny.
And I'm Sam. This week we'll be going over the Commander 2015 spoilers that have come out so far.
Yeah, we're going to be starting off with strictly the commanders and colorless, along with some of the multicolor that aren't necessarily commanders.
The first card that we'll be talking about today is Axos the Return, the main commander from the white-black set. He's 3 mana, 1 colorless, 1 plains, and 1 swamp for a 2/2 zombie soldier. And whenever you cast an enchantment spell, you gain an experience counter. And you can pay the same as his casting cost, 1 colorless, 1 plains, and 1 swamp, to put a white-black enchantment creature token onto the battlefield that has this creature's power and toughness are equal to the number of experience counters you have.
It's just great. I'm loving the experience counters concept that they've come up with here because it's something that attaches to you as a player and not to your creatures. It's something that remains permanent to you, and I think that's just going to be so
It's a really, really cool mechanic. And we'll see a lot more with the commanders as we go on, but they're all pretty great. I really like Axos. I think he's going to be really awesome. And I'm excited for all of the decks.
Fan of Daxos and Theros.
I love Axos and Theros, and it was really sad lore-wise for me when he had
his mishap
to leave us, but he's back.
He's back. He's returned.
That's kind of cool. The next card that we're going to talk about is Karlov of the Ghost Council. He's a potential alternative commander for the white-black set, and he's 1 plains and 1 swamp for a 2/2 Spirit Advisor?
Yeah, Advisor.
I don't know how many Advisor creature types I've seen in the past, but he's actually really, really awesome. Anytime you gain life, he gets 2+1/+1 counters. So right off the bat, great in Aurora, great in any extort deck, just
Absolutely.
out of control. You can also pay 1/1. You can pay 1 white and 1 black and remove 6 +1/+1 counters from him to exile target creature, which is also kind of nice. It's a nice little alternative to dealing with some crappy stuff that may be shutting you down.
Do you think we're going to see Extort in the white-black at all?
No, I don't think it'll show up in this commander set. I'm just talking in general.
Right, yeah.
When you're building your commanders, I think that would be pretty cool to throw him in. I definitely don't see him as a commander. I see him more as a part of either an Extort or maybe an Alluro.
Right, yeah, separately, but I'm sure there'll be some life gain within the white that'll actually...
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I'm sure he'll be great in here as well. You know me, I like to break things down as much as possible, and...
No, yeah.
But yeah, I'm really excited for that guy.
Looking forward to some...
Ghost Council.
Now we're moving on to red and blue, island and mountain. First up, we have Mizik of the Is Magnus. Yep, that's right. And he is a legendary goblin wizard, 2/2, with a really great ability. Whenever you cast an instant or sorcery spell with converted mana cost greater than the number of experience counters you have, you get an experience counter. At which point, the number of experience counters you have reduce the overall colorless cost to your instants and sorceries. So that's going to be really great for those control players. Really great for those, it doesn't even have to be control. The burn side of it too is going to be just absolutely ridiculous because you're going to be seeing less cost for counter spells and less cost for anything that you're going to punch your opponent for. And
love this card. I am
awesome.
so excited. Just hype city for me personally because I really have always kind of liked the blue-red strategy of the control, burn, just awesomeness, and the fact that you can make things cheaper is going to be really, really cool. And the fact that those counters don't go well, it's much more difficult for those counters to go away because they're on you as opposed to on your creatures or your permanents.
Exactly. Yeah.
Oh man, I'm loving it.
Is it your favorite?
It probably is.
No, I love the fact that blue and red are really kind of taking the opportunity to mesh and do something great. So what's that? There's another red-blue alternative commander. Yep. His name is Arjun, the Shifting Flame. He's 4 colorless, 1 island, and 1 mountain to cast. He's a 5/5 flyer, so right on curve for something of that, magnitude. He's got an interesting ability. I'm not sure how I feel about it, but whenever you cast a spell, you put the cards in your hand on the bottom of your library in any order, and then draw that many cards. So you're basically getting a refresher of your hand every time you cast a spell. And that's kind of neat, because I mean it's allowing you to really shift through your deck quickly. It's almost like a rapid tutor in a way, without being able to really pull the exact card you want. You have more of a likelihood of doing it, maybe?
Yeah, I like this better with Alhermit's Archive from Origins, being able to potentially cast a spell. Let's say you pitch 4 cards and then you're drawing 8.
Yeah.
I mean, that would be, obviously, it's going to be hard to command a deck yourself, but you still want to be very cautious of how many cards remain in your library after 2 or 3 turns of doing this. But I like it. I don't think it's quite on par to be an alternative commander.
Yeah, I wouldn't consider it a primary commander.
Definitely part of the 99, but and obviously with some support cards. I like him.
Mizik is he owns red blue.
Mizik is great, and he's just such a mouthful. And if Mizik's of the Is Magnus, it's just a tongue twister and a half.
I'll take him over Arjun, personally.
Absolutely. Next up is the main commander for the black-green set. It's Marin of Clan Neltoth. She's 2 colorless, a swamp, and a forest for a 3/4 human shaman. Whenever another creature you control dies, you get an experience counter. And during your end step, you choose a creature card in your graveyard, and if its converted mana cost is less than or equal to the number of experience counters you have, you put it onto the battlefield. Otherwise, put it in your hand. How awesome is that? Whether or not your experience counters are high, you're still going to get that recursion.
You're going to get it back.
And it's just a matter of, is it going to be onto the battlefield or into your hand?
I mean, the lower the cost, obviously, in the beginning, it's like, hey, it's just going to return right to the battlefield. But otherwise, you get it back in your hand and cast that again. If it dies, another experience counter, maybe it's going to come right back.
Absolutely. In a card like Sultai, Exploit, in those type of decks, I mean, you've got some awesome stuff. For all your sacrifice outlets, I mean, it's crazy. I love this card.
It's gold. I thought about that and then I was like, no, it really is gold.
Next up is Mozrak, Crawl Death Priest. He's 3 colorless, a swamp, and a forest for a 2/2 insect shaman. Now this guy's pretty crazy. He does have flying, but he's still pretty high on the mana cost. His major upside is whenever another player sacrifices a permanent, put a +1/+1 counter on each creature you control.
Each creature, so I feel like that kind of helps out with the expense.
Absolutely. I'm picturing you choose him as your commander, you're going to throw in some of those old school Zendikar Eldrazi with the Annihilator that's making your opponent sacrifice stuff, Dictative Erebos making your opponent sacrifice stuff. I mean, just
the mean things.
This could get out of control really easily.
Rapidly. I think as an alternative commander, he could fit the bill of maybe managing on his own, but Myriad is still pretty dope. I feel like what they've put on the face of each set really does fit the commander bill.
Yeah, it's pretty on point for what what I assume they're going to do with these decks.
Now moving on to red-white. Red-white. We've already covered this card in our announcement video. Kalemne, Disciple of Iroha. Let's just talk about it one more time. It's 2 colorless, a plains, and a mountain to cast. It has double strike and vigilance for a 3/3. Right off the bat, it's just ridiculous on its own, because double strike as a 3/3, 6/6 damage.
Crazy.
Vigilance, I'm never going to tap it unless somebody makes me. And whenever you cast a creature spell with converted mana cost 5 or greater, you get an experience counter. Whenever you get an experience counter, Kalemne gets a +1/+1 for each experience counter you have. So not only are you already just ridiculous with a 3/3 with vigilance and double strike, you're just going to build it up with all those counters.
She's huge, and she's specifically designed for commander damage. I feel like the whole point of this deck is just going to be damage, damage, damage. You'll see with the next card that we spoil as well, too. It's all about making sure your opponents are hurting. So much. And it's so crazy. The only real downside with this card, and probably one of the only reasons that I'm not like, yeah, super on board the hype train, is its experience counters really only affect it, specifically. Right. A lot of the other cards have great interaction with other things in your deck, or other cards that might be on the battlefield, but like if somebody pacifies your Kalemne, I mean, you're in red-white, you can probably deal with that with some white cards, but if somebody shuts her down, then you kind of SOL.
Yeah, a little bit. But, I mean...
But, I mean, it's still 4 mana for a 3/3 with double strike and vigilance and gets stronger. And
I ain't even mad.
Yeah.
Normally, I'm a white-green player. So, I'm dabbling in white-red, and I'm loving it far more than I generally love white-green, because it just doesn't do me any favors anymore. Yeah. Now, you remember how we were talking about damage in this deck? Damage? That big thing that Anya, Merciless Angel, does? Merciless Angel?
Truly merciless.
3 colorless, 1 mountain, 1 plains to cast. For a 4/4 with flying, with just one of the most brutal abilities that I think I've seen in quite a while. She gets +3/+3 for each opponent whose life total is less than half of his or her starting life total. And as long as an opponent's life total, an opponent, doesn't matter if it's one or everybody, is less than half, she's indestructible. So a sweet, potentially 13/13 flyer.
Or more, if you're playing more. Yeah, I mean, if you're playing like a 6-player commander game.
Right, I'm figuring, your average commander game may be 4 players, but yeah, I mean, if you're playing 5, 6, 7 players, I don't know how many people play 8-player commander, but I would love to give it a try.
Oh god. Well, I can't. She's a finisher. Like, she's gonna come in and swoop in all Angel of Death and be like, listen.
Yeah.
I don't have time for this. We're shutting this game down. I mean,
right now.
She's already 5 mana for a 4/4 flyer, so she's already on point with where we would expect her to be. And it's horrible. She comes down late game, you've already been kicking everybody's teeth in. It's just
great.
Oh, it's
really
so good.
I gotta say, as far as all of the alternative commanders that we've discussed so far, I really think that she actually stands a pretty good chance of being just as good as Kalemne as a replacement commander. I mean, I could see putting her in as your commander as opposed to Kalemne and achieving just as much in just a short amount of time.
She flies, she has that evasion. Kalemne doesn't have trample, so even though Kalemne could get, huge with the double strike and all the potential commander damage, it can still be chump blocked by a goblin.
The benefit with Kalemne being the vigilance comboed with the double strike, whereas Anya just gets flying, but I mean, you're
potentially
talking about
indestructible, potentially +6/+6.
And who often has time to block a flyer.
It's so great. She's awesome. I love her.
She's great.
Next up, we're going to go into the blue-green set. We're looking at Zuri, Claw of Progress. Poor Zuri.
Zuri, no!
Got all sorts of corrupted by Jin Gitaxias, and
he got ruined.
He's feeling the perfection. Let me tell you. But he's a 3/3 elf warrior, and whenever a creature with power 2 or less enters the battlefield under your control, you get an experience counter. And at the beginning of combat on your turn, you put X +1/+1 counters on target creature, where X is the number of experience counters you have. So, a lot of little dudes, probably going to be some tokens, I assume. He's going to be buffing your people up until the cows come home.
And they don't go away at end of turn.
No, they're there. They are permanently there, and
because he's a commander.
I feel so bad for Zuri.
I know,
man.
he was awesome as a renegade leader.
And he still cares about the little guys, you know? He was supporting his elves, and now he's supporting the little creatures. I don't know, his horrible Phyrexian
He looks so Phyrexian now. He looks like
they did a really good job with that art. I love it. Yeah. I think it is awesome, and he just looks so creepy. It's so great. It's so great.
He looks like something out of a genuine horror movie.
Absolutely. Next up is Kaseto Orochi Archmage. 1 colorless, 1 forest, and 1 island for a 2/2 snake wizard. Snake tribal. You can pay 1 green and 1 blue. Target creature can't be blocked this turn. If that creature is a snake, it gets +2/+2 until end of turn. Snake tribal decks finally have a dude that's more than 1 color.
I know, right?
Is he the first? I think he's the first snake that's 2 colors. I don't know.
He might be.
Prove me wrong in the comments, but gosh.
Yeah, right?
I think snakes? All the snakes?
Snakes.
Let's make snakes. I hope there's more snakes in this deck. I don't know why.
It'd be
snakes.
Fun.
It's cool.
I mean, yeah, no, there's some really good snakes that they could totally throw in here that would be great.
Farika makes snakes. If you make this a Sultai deck, you got Farika.
There's some snakes from Cold Snap. There's some snakes.
Yeah. Theros. I mean, every block has snakes.
Yeah.
But I think this might be our first. I don't know. We're gonna look this up after the video, so please prove us wrong in the comments. But I think this is one of the very limited number of multicolored snake creatures, legitimate snake creatures. Snake wizard. I'm loving all these dual creature types as well too. I think that's been a really cool thing. Like later on in one of our later videos, there's a centaur plant. Yeah. Like what? Centaur plant? What the heck? I don't know. It's been really cool.
It is funny.
Enjoying this.
I mean, imagine a snake and a wizard. Snake wizard.
Ooh, you don't want to mess with that.
Yeah. You casting snakes? I'll stop.
Yeah, that's.
All right. So next we're kicking off colorless, aka artifacts and others of the like, and I'm gonna bring up Seal of the Guild Pact. Now, as spoilers have gone so far this week, this is my favorite spoiler in the artifact category. Absolutely. 5 colors to cast. Granted, it's a little expensive, but we're talking about Commander here, which, you know, you'll get there. Turn 5, maybe, if you're lucky. But anyways, as it enters the battlefield, choose 2 colors. Not 1. 2 colors. So you take those 2 colors, and for each one of those colors, each one of those chosen colors, if you're casting a spell that has those chosen colors, it costs 1 colorless less to cast. For each.
Which is kind of awesome.
It's great.
I'm looking at red-blue deck. I'm looking at casting those spells even cheaper. I really want to know how many cards are going to have X in their casting cost for that deck because, oh man, it's going to be great.
It's going to be awesome. I mean, even for any of the other colors at all. I mean, red-white's still going to benefit from it greatly as well because it's going to make, you know, casting something like Anya cheaper. Not that Kalemne needs to be any cheaper.
Well, I mean, we're in 2 colors for all of these commander decks, so really this card could fit in any of them. Really any 2-color commander deck.
I mean, that would ultimately reduce the casting cost of the commander once it starts to rise a little bit.
Yeah, so. Reduces the commander tax, if you will.
Commander tax, yeah.
But,
I'd also like to bring up that this is probably my favorite artwork so far as well. I think that the artwork that they did for this card in particular was exceptional because, as you can see, they did all of the original Ravnica guilds in one tight circle of just beauty. Like
it's like and with, you know, a special emphasis on that is it guild symbol there. So
just a little shine down on red-blue.
This deck is awesome.
Hey, by the way, are you an Izzet player?
Because we got a special toy for you. Next up is Sandstone Oracle. 7 mana, colorless, for a 4/4 flyer. It's a little spendy. And when it enters the battlefield, you choose target opponent, and if that player has more cards in their hand than you do, you draw cards equal to the difference. So that's a great way to fill your hand back up.
Yeah.
I would love to see this also in that red-blue deck. Because with things being so cheap, you're going to be draining your hand, I assume, pretty easily.
Yeah.
But really, this could be in anything. As long as your opponent is running a strategy that keeps cards in hand, or if you just want to fill your hand, it's a body on the ground, it's a flyer, and
it refreshes you.
Yeah, it's cool.
Something I absolutely hate in a game of Magic is when I run out of a hand, and I'm sure hundreds, thousands of players share that same
the
qualm.
worst. Yeah.
And something like Sandstone Oracle really kind of bridges that gap of not worrying about that anymore. So, next up we have one of my favorite artifacts that isn't Zeal of the Guild backed. We've got Scythe Claw. 5 colorless to cast. It's a living weapon for 3 to equip. And it's got equipped creature gets +1/+1. And then a wicked ability that reminds me of that of Quietus Spike. Whenever it deals combat damage to a player, that player loses half of his or her life, rounded up.
I don't like it.
I love it. Oh, it's so great. It's very much a black ability. It's very much swamps. But I think it's great because it's just that much more of a pinch on your opponent, especially in a commander game.
Oh no, it's fantastic. It's really fantastic. To take down Oloro, take down any of those like life gain strategies. I don't like it because I know it's going to be used against me
Yeah.
because I'm the one who plays those life gain strategies, and I don't want to be across the table from this.
No.
Like if I don't have an answer, if I can't shut down that creature or destroy that artifact, not happy.
I feel like this is going to probably end up in the Zuri commander deck too.
I could actually, based off of the art, I could see it in a Zuri, but based off the fact that it's half of their life,
Yeah.
Kalemne,
Yeah.
with Anya, that angel.
That'd be sweet.
Oh my
You
gosh!
attach to a flyer and just.
It would be insane, and then you'd automatically get that +3/+3, and you'd automatically get the indestructible.
Yeah.
Just with the one attack. Oh my gosh.
This card is ridiculous.
It's terrible, but great.
But great.
Not actually terrible, just I don't want to see it across the table. Next up is another equipment, Blade of Selves. 2 mana to cast, 4 mana to equip. Equipped creature has Myriad. Now this is the new keyword from this commander set.
Yep.
And gosh, if I don't love it.
It's great.
So whenever the equipped creature attacks, for each other opponent, you may put a copy of the equipped creature onto the battlefield, tapped and attacking that opponent. So you throw this equipped creature at one of your opponents that, let's say, doesn't have any blockers. Then all of a sudden, you've got this creature attacking every other opponent. And I think it's so great. You get free attackers. Those guys, go away at the end of turn. So you got in your damage where you needed to do it, and then you've got it's so cool.
It's lack of crowd control. It becomes a problem.
Oh my gosh. Okay, so this and Hydra Omnivore, if you give your Hydra Omnivore Myriad, and even just like 2 of them get through, can you imagine how crazy that would be?
It would be nuts.
Oh my gosh.
But even then, imagine something that's in the set already. Attach Blade of Selves with a Scythe Claw on just one thing. Then you're ruining all of your opponent's days.
The tokens wouldn't have the Scythe Claw equipment.
That's true.
But there's so many applications for this equipment. Just being able to attack with your one legitimate creature and immediately be attacking everyone else with the same creature is just so cool.
It's so crazy.
Just so cool mechanic-wise. I love it. I think it's awesome.
And as one might expect, this set will not be without Thought's Urn for 2 colorless gives you no maximum hand size. Now we've run into several cards already where we're refreshing our hands, we're drawing more cards. You know, it's going to be great knowing that there's a way to avoid having to deal with, you know, overdrawn discard. That's always a bummer for anybody.
Absolutely. So now we've got Reliquary Tower, we've got Spellbook, we've got Venser's Journal, now we got Thought's Urn. You can tap it for a colorless. I mean, it's an okay little mana rock for some acceleration, but the no maximum hand size is pretty sweet.
That's pretty key. I will admit that having that colorless tap is nice because, you know, even Spellbook, it's just strictly, granted Spellbook doesn't cost anything to cast, it is just strictly no maximum hand size. So having a little mana ramp doesn't hurt, although it would be probably a lot more fun and maybe an uncommon if it was only 1 mana to cast.
Ooh, that would be pretty awesome.
As opposed to 2. Yeah.
Next up is the only land that's been spoiled so far, Command Beacon. You can tap it for a colorless, or you can tap it and sacrifice it to return your commander from the command zone to your hand. And that is awesome. After you've cast your commander 3, sometimes even 4 times, you don't want to pay that extra mana. Bring him back to your hand,
Boom.
Pump him out for his regular casting cost. I mean, love it.
Yeah, no,
love it.
It's fantastic knowing that you have the ability to bring it to your hand so that you don't have to pay the extra cost that you normally would sending it out from the command zone. And
I gotta tell you, when I'm playing Mikaeus, which I do because I'm a jerk, I gotta say, after he's killed once or twice, I really don't want to pay that extra mana to get him out to make sure that infinite combo goes off without a hitch. So I'm gonna love being able to just pop him back to my hand, drop him for his regular casting cost. Pretty much any commander that's more than 4 mana, or really even any commander, after you've cast him a few times, other than maybe Derivi, the one that you can just cast from your command zone. That's really the only one that wouldn't benefit from a card like this.
Right.
Because commander tax is painful. I don't want to pay that extra mana.
And with Derivi, you don't have to, but with every other commander, you do.
Ugh, yes.
So this will be a really nice addition to prevent that from happening. Well, thank you for joining us today at Mana Central. We hope you enjoyed our spoilers of commanders and some colorless stuff.
Totally. Stay tuned. We're going to have a lot of videos coming out this week, like we mentioned. We're going to do all the colors.
Yeah, and be sure to leave us some comments about your thoughts on what we're seeing so far in the spoilers, and be sure to hit us like. Yeah, the like button's a great thing for us. Make sure that we know that you like what we do.
And don't forget to subscribe so you get those updates about all the videos that we put out later this week and next week and until the end of time.
Yeah, because we're going to be trying to keep up on spoilers as often as we can. So
yeah, absolutely.
Thanks again for joining us.
Have a great night.